Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Valley School District Board of Directors study session. It is Tuesday, May 28th, rather, 6 p.m. And I'll call the study session to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Changes to the agenda for the study session.
No changes?
Communications for the study session.
No communications?
All right, and we have one discussion item, long-range facilities planning. Peter, would you like to introduce our guests this evening?
Certainly. So we have David Bodine, Vice President, Turner and Townsend Heary, who has worked with the district in the past. Really excited that David was able to make the journey here to Yakima. And you're in Spokane, right? You're based in Spokane. We want to make this a study session where we're going to be able to be at the tables, see the screen, and have it be informal. And so we're going to have the board join the audience tonight. And I really appreciate David going to be with us to discuss next steps for long-range facilities planning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I assume the mic's on and we're good. All right. And I'll get up and adjust the computer wherever necessary to kind of look at things. I assume this already went out to the board.
Yep.
So this is not unfamiliar territory in what we're looking at. Okay. So what I was tasked with, and Peter, correct me anywhere I might be wrong, is we created a bit of a first draft look at kind of a schedule which would lead to a potential election in February 26. Right. We can adjust a lot of things, but for right now, knowing we don't have a specific plan in place, let's use that as a projection, as a potential out there. Knowing funding, understanding where some bonds may be expiring. Let's look at that February 26th date. So along with our strategic partner, Phil Crocker, Teeter Crocker, Inc., we developed this kind of long-range planning schedule that takes us from now, we're already behind a little bit, but we can catch up quick, through the February 26th date timeline.
David,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, totally. It's meant to be. I don't want to speak this whole time.
No, you're fine. I maybe just a slight step backwards before we talk about the long range. Joel heard me give him a little bit of your background,
who we are, what we do, and all of that.
We'll kind of and what you've done and what your company has helped the district with before. And one of the reasons why you're here is a few weeks ago, Peter showed us this, which I know you're going to go through in just a second. Yeah. And I felt that because we have 3 new school board members, I've often said that being on the school board is like walking into the middle of a long conversation that you don't know all the pieces. Sure. And even if you've been really paying attention to school board meetings, it's really, really difficult to come on board. So for the benefit of all the school board members, I wanted, again, not to steal Dave's thunder, but David's been with us since before
2018.
Before in the bond planning process of Apple Valley and Summit View. Him specifically and his team, and that scope of work helped us develop and pass that bond resolution for Apple Valley and Summit View. Their scope of work then expanded to the project management of the completion of Apple Valley and Summit View. And also, as you may be aware of, the campaign to run the bond measure for Apple Valley and Summit View was the start of a long-range facilities plan. We as a district tried to informally do that on our own. And we found that was a really big lift to do on our own. even though we had some very spirited and very, some great community members that have experience, it's just not the depth of experience that David and his team can offer. And so we were really happy to partner on the start of that long range facilities plan, which then resulted in a community led or a community process led by David and his team that resulted in the long range facilities plan, which was presented to the school board in, I believe, December of 2020, which is on our website. And so they've been with us through this process. And one of the things that we've always known about the long range facilities plan, in addition to the deferred maintenance that it has identified and what we are tackling, we also know that in starting in 26, the high school bonds are going to start to fall off. And so again, that's where David was going. But I did want to give a little bit of that background, and David certainly can help me fill in any of the blanks. But for the benefit of our newer school board members, number one, I really wanted you to meet David in person. Number two, I felt, and again, this is, I felt that it was important that as this process is commencing, you have some face time with the person that's leading it, rather than, oh, well, how did this all come about and how did this go? So I really felt that it was important to have this time with David today. And I probably talked more than I wanted to, but as you were starting to talk about this,
I got too far into it. No, I appreciate you taking the steps back.
I feel like that's an important step, that just to bring. There's no way I'm going to bring you fully up to speed on all of this in that little 5-minute summary, but at least to try to help fill in some blanks. So,
yeah, no, I appreciate it, Michael. It's been a long journey, but a fun journey. We've done a lot. I mean, we started back in 2018 when we were privileged to start working with your community to figure out what we were going to do in the first place. And I think there was a path that was desired at the time with Apple Valley and Summit View. But the community came behind it real quick, which was awesome. But we had, what would you say, Michael? There were 40 people in those first few meetings. I mean, it was a great turnout. Like, we got heavy engagement from key players throughout the community. And the district was awesome in bringing those people together. So about myself real quick, I've been with this same company by this fourth name in the last 7 years for 21 years. So this is what I've done. This is my company that I came out of college with and been working primarily K-12, doing project owner rep work for 21 years. I moved from Seattle to Spokane in 06, tasked to kind of build up the office and go. And we've had some fun working with a lot of great clients ever since. And one of the things we've really worked on primarily in the last 5 to 7 years is really this pre-bond services side of things, really helping clients. We found it was weird. Districts were really going toward the school board saying, here's what we're going to go do. Community, get behind us. And we weren't seeing that success because your community went, oh, so you're just making the decisions. You already got that thing planned. You don't really need us. And we're voting no, by the way. And we've looked at ways to flip that script to the point where it's like, let's get the community to figure out what it is, the community to come and make a recommendation to the board and the superintendent. That's power, right? When all of a sudden your community says, hey, school board, here's what you need to run in February. Oh, good call, right? They're behind it. They're the ones that are going to vote yes. They're going to be the ones telling their friends, telling whoever at the grocery store about when they get talked to about, hey, why are you doing that? They have the answers. Because obviously as school board members and school administration, you can't say anything, right? You can't say vote yes. You have to be careful about what you do. They can go say whatever they need to say. They're the ones that are going to promote you all the way through. So as Michael said, right, we started in 18. We got that behind the 19 election. Then we went and absolutely crushed that. I mean, we had everything aligned beautifully in that bond program. From prototype schools, the district did a phenomenal job of getting all the kids out of the freshman campus up here. We saved millions of dollars in that one move. And I credit the district for that. right? That was their idea. They nailed it. And then we were able to run 2 schools at the same time. And as you guys know, we've brought a lot of money back to the district. Now you've got a stadium that's torn up to a lot of dirt at the moment. It's going to be awesome when we're done. It's just painful to look at it right now, right? And so now we're looking at that next step, right? What does it look like moving forward for the district and your facilities? And that's kind of where we've got to now. But all right, let's go that next step. And so I think it's a combination now of the schedule, which we'll go through. And then if you look back at our facility master plan back to 2020, God, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but I guess it was, where we kind of put together those recommendations, and some which we've done, some we haven't done in the short, middle term. And we got to start probably re-looking at that plan and get with the community and take a look. Are we still on that same path? Are those still the same needs? Education's changed in 4 years. Are the needs still the same? Is the educational programming telling us the same thing? We need to take a deep dive into all that and really start working with the community to have them bring out some recommendations about, hey, here's where we're at. And I don't know the facilities right now. I mean, we're gonna have to relook at conditions. One thing we look at, we'll dig into it. It's a combination. So when we talk about we really work on a data-driven process, right? We don't want hypotheticals like, hey, that building looks like it really needs to be repaired. Well, that's great, but let's get factual in that, because people can't dismiss data. All we're giving is facts. We want to really focus on that data. So we look at it 2 main aspects. Well, 3. If you got your educational programming, right? What's your grade configuration model? That's changed, right? This is now a 9-12 school. It wasn't that when we started out here back in 19. We look at what we need to work on, and you see there June, July, August, and something we'll need to get moving on pretty quickly is the study and survey. So study and survey is a OSPI driven process that you have to do before you do any capital work. And what that does is that takes a physical assessment of all of your facilities. Okay, so you start really looking at all of them from a deferred maintenance, conditions of your walls, your restrooms, your mechanical units, everything. And we do a physical detailed assessment of that. So that is then a report that's submitted to OSPI, and you get funding for it. So that is nothing out of your own pocket. You get out of your pocket, but gets reimbursed, right? That's fully paid for by the state. You have to do that before you do any capital projects. That's a requirement. So you have to look at it because the state makes sure you're on the right path. Well, then we get doing and showing there in September is called a functional adequacy review. So what that is your building and the rooms in it being used for the intended purpose? Mm-hmm. Do you have a art room that's being used as a classroom because you're overcrowded, and therefore your art teacher is working around and working on a cart to all? That's not being used the way it is. Are you using portables at facilities because you're overcrowded, right? Portables aren't, we don't like to think of those as adequate learning environments. They work on a temporary basis, but it's not where you want your students to be, right? You want them in the building, in the classroom, from a safety and security standpoint, from a learning environment, all that you want working in there, right? So we go through and we do all this functional adequacy in all the buildings. And you can see in that long-range master report, we did that back in 18. Probably needs to be updated, right? So all those things we need to do, that gives you all the data. We then work to do through various community meetings, and we also layer in your capacity and your utilization. So my partner, Phil Crocker, he's developed an unbelievably accurate, it's never going to be perfect because capacity and enrollment's never a perfect science, especially these days in education, as Peter will tell you. It's brutal. But we get where we're going, understand where your growth trends are. Are you growing? You coming down? Where are you right now, Peter? You guys?
We're over 5,000.
So growing a little bit?
We're back to pre-COVID.
Sweet. That was awesome. So we layer all that data in. And our first meeting with the community is what we call the data dump. And it is painful. And I get it. It's painful. It's tough, but it's a lot of data, but it sets a grounding foundation for the entire community to go, okay, we now see where everything is. Here's what the buildings look like. Here's how they're being used. Here's where students are coming in, right? Do we have a high growth rate in kindergarten? Do we have a big bubble coming through? Oh, it's skewed. All those things we're going to look at. And we just pile in that information.
I think another factor is also how old the buildings are.
Yep.
If they're eligible for modernization or
yeah, we get into that. So we go through this data dump piece, right? So we start looking at all the data, and then we start looking at the product. We don't want to get into the money piece. We tried to avoid the cost and the money for a while because we want everyone to focus on the facilities themselves.
Can I ask, are we gonna wait until the end just to throw questions?
No, please. I want this to be, I do not want to just talk. I don't want to just sit here and talk for an hour, please.
I just, you're talking about the community meetings and stuff. I'd love to hear or understand more how those went. I'm just curious, how much did the community input speak into the planning?
Totally. No, I love it. That's a great question. Heavily, right? So the first meeting sucks. I'm the first to tell you the first meeting sucks because it's us just pounding, open up that fire hose, and I'm sorry, but here it comes. After that, it changes its tone, right? And that's where the hope is everyone stays committed, right? And we'll talk in a minute about the committee itself. But as it starts with just shoving data, the rest of it's now we want to hear back. What did the committee hear? Now that you've analyzed and come to the second meeting, we give them the data back, right? Let them process. Now come back and talk to us. What do you see? Where do you see the needs in your district? And they go, man, that middle level campus is it's so far behind, right? Look at the data on this from a functional standpoint, from a physical standpoint. It needs help, right? And we start building out all the needs that the district has, right? So let's look at all this. Let's get everything out there on the table, and we start working through all that. We get into groups like this, right? So when we had 40 people, Michael, you probably remember, we think we had 8 or 10 tables worth of groups, and those community members battling of what the needs are based on the data, and then they're reporting back to us, Phil and I and others that were part of that process. We're just taking it all in, right? What do we think those needs are? And we go, and then we work to prioritize them all. Where are those priorities? Let's look at that. We've only focused on data. All we've talked about is needs. Mm-hmm. Now we start looking at the money side. What have all these cost, right? And so we then start layering in today's costs. What does this look like? Using escalation to look out a little bit. Then, as to Peter's point, now we start looking at where state match play into that, right? Did you send that sheet out, that information out? So I have some data on when these buildings become eligible for state match that we can look at. Because you don't want to, if a building becomes eligible, let me get specific here so I don't talk wrong, and I know I'm being recorded, so I want to make sure I'm correct in what I say, right? Let's say we were to, try and do Cottonwood in 2025, but it's eligible in November of 2026 to get state match. Well, that would be silly, right? We'd be leaving millions on the table. So let's start aligning projects so that we're working on them once they become eligible.
So is that state match based on like how old the school is?
Yeah. So the buildings have to be 30 years old, unless they were back in the 80s. So we're past that point. Once they hit the 30-year mark, they become eligible. And so they become eligible in 2 different ways. You can either demolish it, renew and lieu, or renovate it. Either one works. And you get state match at the square footage of the building. So OSPI has a very weird formula. First to say it, it's the square footage of the building times what they call the CCA, or the construction cost allowance. Now, nice part is that just took a massive leap. It was going on 3% a year, way behind, and they just jumped it up. I think it was like 48%. So it went from $275 a square foot to $375 a square foot. Huge jump. Then they've got a magic formula that calculates your match rate. That match rate is based upon your taxable values, businesses in your area, a lot of what I call voodoo magic that I don't fully understand how they get there. And they give you a match percentage. So for you right now, it's just under 76%. So I'll use Cottonwood as an example. It's just over 60,000 square feet, that building. That's eligible come November of 2026. You would take that 60,000, you would multiply that by $375 per each of that square foot times your 76%. That would give you what your general match number is from the state. You get a little bit more because of soft costs, but generally speaking, that's what you get. You'll get that from state. So we start layering all that together. And what we get to the point is asking your community, what's the appetite, right? Because that's ultimately what comes down to, right? How much are we willing to spend? And now you guys use Corey Plager, right? Do you use them? Okay. So then that's when we start bringing in the bond side of things, right? So we'll bring in a Corey Plager who will, I don't know if he's talked to you guys at all, but he goes in and starts talking about your bond rates, what's expiring, where you're at right now and how things are moving. And now what does an election look like? What is a cost per thousand equal to millions of dollars that we're going to ask for from your community? And we start looking at that picture, right? Because there's a lot that goes into that, right? You've got high school bond expiring in 26. Okay, we want to take advantage of that because as a school district, what do you want to avoid? You want to avoid asking for more money. And if you can keep that tax rate at a spot that your community is comfortable with, that's an ideal scenario. Asking for the hikes are hard. And so ideally, you're taking advantage of a drop and capturing that. That's an ideal scenario. That's where communities and districts have the most success, is where you don't have to say, let something expire. You lose, I don't know, what is the rate on the high school? Do you know, Peter, off the top of your head?
Well, they were structured so that they are only
Over a period. But let's say you had $2 a thousand on it. You don't want to lose that $2.
It's more than that.
I know, but I'm just using
Yeah,
as a general number. If you were to lose that $2, recapturing that is really hard, right? To come back and say, oh, we lost $2, and a year and a half later, you're like, we need $2. They're like, well, that's an increase. Be able to maintain that. That's the trick, right? And so Corey is one of the best, if not the best, at helping look at that financial plan. So we come up with that and say, okay, we're willing, in order to maintain that level, that's going to cost X per thousand, right? And so then we go, that equals X amount of millions of dollars, add in state match. Let's start looking at an a la carte menu of projects and how that can work. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that we present all that and we start really churning the butter now, right? And what is it the community says, okay, for X millions, we want to do X, Y, Z. And we get to a consensus. And we don't go anywhere till we get a consensus. And it's got to be everyone. You're not going to get everyone. Sometimes you do. And that group will then take that consensus, that recommendation, and come to you, school board superintendent, and say, all right, we've went through this. This is the process we've went through. And this is what we want to be run on the February 26th ballot. And by November, you have a resolution that is sent to the elections office to go for a February 26th bond.
And we just chose that February 26th to work our way back from, because of exactly what David just said. We would be able to say your taxes are not going to increase because the high school is going away. And so we can still get X, Y, and Z for the community without a tax increase. So
Does the high school actually go away in 26 or 27?
Both.
It's both.
So
It's a step down
there's-
approach.
I was on the board when we did the 20
There's
year.
there's two fall offs, one in 26 and one in 27.
The
that
final
make up
one
the-
is 27.
They make
Okay.
up the high school. That's
Okay.
correct.
Do you know what the rate is off the top of your
I want to say it's close to $4.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I was
hefty.
just thinking, I went off the board in 07 and that's when we did the 20 year bond.
Yeah.
I was thinking 7. That makes
He
sense.
sent that to me, Peter, and I apologize. That's
Well,
the one
we
piece I didn't print out.
it's not correct to say it like this, but we did a
Refinance?
You adjusted it.
we did a refund. It's not a refinance, but we did a refund, which
Okay.
was a tax savings to our community. But yeah, so I want to say it's around $4 per. That's the rate.
I'm hoping to look at my.
And that's something we can figure out later. It's not that important.
So you have 3 different bonds maturing in the next 3 years. That's what.
3.
So I don't know if that's part of the restructuring you guys did or something like that, but
2 for the high school and 1 for.
No, it should be all.
no, it's
probably
all
all
associated with the
all
one.
3 are associated with the high school.
Yeah, 'cause I
Yeah.
don't know of any others. Yeah.
No, it's those, just the structuring of it and how it went. So that's what Corey had said. Now, like I said, we'll bring him in. I think it's always good to do a session and have him come and speak to the board and show that, just like he's going to show your community and get that engagement, because that's a big piece of this puzzle, right? That financial structuring, guy's brilliant. He's done this in a lot of districts and figuring that equation out. So, Any questions kind of on the process? I mean, did I answer your question about how we're engaging the community? James, I kind of
Yeah,
that
I
for
think
you?
So, yeah, I just, want to understand how their input was brought into it.
Well, let me, you're talking in the past tense. I want to be really, really clear.
It's the
We have
same.
not, David has not started that. That's going to happen
Right.
later.
That's how it happened in
Yeah,
2018.
I want to be really, the words that we use really, really matter.
They do.
This is going to happen moving forward. In the past, they engaged the community back in 2019, where that's what he's
18 and
talking
20,
about. You know, we had a great cross section. I want to say it was like 40 people. They're all identified in the long range facilities report as to who participated. And so that community engagement piece for this go around has not started yet. That's reflected in his timeline of getting that group together later this year.
Well, I mean, you can see on this map, on this draft timeline, right? This summer, one of the lifts that we would be working with the district on is developing that committee, right? And it's a cross section, right? You want people who understand your community, that are vocal in your community. And I'll tell you from experience, even no people are good to have on that. You know, I will tell you some districts we worked with in the past, we had some no voters in that group, and they couldn't, at the end of our process, they couldn't deny the need. And it turned out the biggest no was the one standing at that table making the recommendation. Changed everything. We didn't see it coming. I'll be the first. Me and Phil, we talk about, we didn't see it coming. We look back to meeting one. He's like, my kid, I was fine in a, 4-wall box. I was good. Didn't need it. At the end of the day, he saw the need and what's the best for the students in that community. And so I think the challenge is, I'm sure there's existing, there's carryover from the 2018 and 2020 committees. I'm sure there is. And we've got that list of everyone there. But that's probably grown. It's changed. People have left, all that.
So on this calendar, then, it's June through August, study and survey. So
Yep.
is that going in and figuring out all the data? What are the needs?
Yeah, so that it's ideal to do it during the summer. People will need to talk about getting that on board. I'll get with Joe on that. It's easier for that work to happen in the summer.
Yeah.
When there's less, I know there's still students around the summer, so I don't use the word no students. So less students, less usage of the building, right? So because they got to go in, I said, they get in the mechanical rooms and they're looking at the boilers and the chillers and they're looking at, how are the walls? Where's the ceiling grid? Like they're uncovering it.
How do you assess then for, like, you gave the example of like the art teacher taking the
So that's the September and the functional adequacy review. So that's a separate scope.
Okay.
And where that occurs is that's meetings with the principal walking through the building.
Gotcha.
Because we need to understand the use of the building. And I can't, our people can't walk and understand the building without going with the people that use the building.
Right.
So that's why that's pushed to September. Could even go to October because I understand the startup of the year is a deal. We'll figure out. Those are minor details to work through, right? Oh, you do. September's. We've gotten through the beginning of the school year fun, but so those are two different things. And one, I don't need people in the building. The other one, I need the administration in the building for.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we want to get in there, work through that summer, get with consultants, and start running through that building and figure out where we're at. Because it's pretty invasive. And then the report we probably wouldn't even get the report. We'd be using draft data. According to this, October, probably push that December out to January because holidays get in the way. But we would probably bring a report to the board early 25 because it's the board's responsibility to approve that study and survey and where we're going with that.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, it's a lot of the repeat from 25 because I think there's a lot of work. I think it's working with your communication side, right? One thing especially the work we're doing now, right? You want to tell a great story, right? And show the bond dollars at work that you've done and show the district as good stewards of the money, which you have been. And credit to you with the money that was approved back in 19, how well that was utilized for Apple Valley Summit View and the work being done on stadiums and everything else right now, right? That works. You want to show the good work being done and show also the great work being done by maintenance to maintain the buildings. Just because 30 plus years old and needing to be replaced doesn't say you've done wrong with the building. It's run a great life, right? And it's time to modernize, and education's changed in 30 years as well, right? So we want to update the facilities, but you want to, those opposite months when we're not meeting with the committee, it's developing a bit of a communications plan that's going out through your bulletins, through your social media networks, all that to keep momentum going, right? One of the biggest challenges may be the wrong word, between when we get started to get to February of 26, and I'm using that date tentatively right now, right? It's building momentum to hit the crescendo at the right time, right? Because you don't want to all of a sudden get to May of 25 and go, we got our plan, let's go.
Yeah.
Because I can't carry momentum from May of 25 to February of 26. It doesn't happen. So we want to develop a plan that's going to get there, right? And if all of a sudden our committee, we drafted this up, and I'm clear, this is a draft, right? We want to work to build that momentum, because you can see there in October, even going into November is when that board resolution comes. That's when we want to be striking, right? We want that power coming through, because summers are hard, and we have a meeting there in June or July, may or may not happen. Often we skip the summer because people are at the lakes and they're traveling and they're vacationing, and getting that full committee together is very impossible. It's not just hard, it's nearly impossible. So we want to come back in September, October. All right, here's comes the recommendation. We're all on board. Yep. Okay. Here's the grouping of people that's going to make that recommendation. We're coming in October, November to do that. Are you two reading? I can't remember, Peter, on your resolutions. Do you do a first reading and a second reading? Just be one. So we would come and make sure we hit that at the right time. So here's November, we're filing, and then we start building. The trick then is to take that bond committee, right, this facilities committee, and turn them into advocacy group, right? Because ideally, many of them are raising their hand to be part of the committee. I can't remember the name of your local committee that supports.
West Side Citizens for Better Schools.
That's the one, right? And those people are transitioning from facilities to that, to build that momentum to the vote yes committee. Because the district, your ability, you can't say yes, you can only provide facts. And you only get, per the rules, you only get the one piece of information to get out. Right? So we got to talk through all that and help get that right information out, so that then the advocacy committee can then take that and run.
Yeah.
And help support from that point forward. Right? And ideally those people are carrying from one to the next, because they got all that information, right? They're the ones that got all the great info to take forward.
And David and I, work on this as a, if we were to do a bond in February 2026, what would we need to do to, backwards map that? We do have a levy that we will need to run 2026 for, what do they call them? What is it?
EP&O,
EP&O.
educational programming and operations, or whatever it is.
Educational Programming Operations, February 2026. So we'll need to work with the committee. Is the need there? Do we run a bond and a levy at the same time? The levy is definitely a need. Do we push the bond out to 2027? It's just something that we're going to need to work with the committee and work with the board on.
Yeah. There's a lot to look at when it comes to timing, right? You'll see the big ones coming up here. Obviously, we got a presidential coming up here, right? And that is always a big question mark, because you get more people to turn out, which could be a good thing for some districts and bad for others, right? So there's that discussion. The election immediately following, you have to validate. So you have to get 60% of the last voter turnout from the previous to validate your election. Don't hold me to the 60% number, but there's a validation percentage you have to hit. So people running in February 25 is going to be very low, right? Because everyone comes for presidential, not many come for this special election after. So then that kind of pushes. February is when you talk to those in the industry, February is the best time to run. It's the most positive outcomes. Second is November. Then third is April, and it's a significant drop. So February and November are kind of the two main election times that are looked at and sought after.
So running February 26, you would have the positive is to get out the votes. You would have that if you have both issues. And then districts have been successful running.
Have.
What it really comes down to, I think, is the actual plan that you've developed.
Mhm.
You know, does the community support that plan and see the value of it? Or is it not the right time for it? You know?
But that's what you want the community to tell you,
Yeah, exactly.
right? This is what we're facilitating is community driven. Make sure that's understood. Our job is to provide the data and then react, right? And that's where really where the power comes from. Like I said, in the past, we saw districts just going for, hey, we're going to go do this. And while that worked for a while, there's a steep drop off because the community wasn't behind it. And so now you get that opportunity and they may say, this is great, but we don't think running it with the EPNOs at the right time. Let's push it to November. Okay. Right. There is nothing, even when we went out in February 19, we thought it was going to be Apple Valley and Summit View. We didn't know. We were okay with whatever was decided. That became the clear choice, but we didn't know. Right. And so we want to maintain that flexibility of saying, where does the committee want to go, and let them lead the process and get there. And we just provide the data to support where they want to go and give the realistic, look at it. Right. And I've seen many districts falter on the cost side, for example. Here's the cost, right? It costs X millions of dollars to go do it. Well, they don't look at a full schedule of executing to where midpoint of construction, which is where you got to escalate costs to. So all of a sudden, you're 3 years compounded at 5% behind. Whoops. Right? So we got to make sure we are telling the right story all the way through, and the committee understands what their numbers mean, and we're pretty transparent with that process. So I think that's kind of the schedule and the spiel for the most part. I know we could look at the previous master plan. I don't know if that's really something you want to look at, digest. What that is from February 2020, we have that up, don't we, on the computer? I think I could try and screw with it. And I know you're smart. You pulled it up and showed me a little bit how to do it, but someone knows it better. And we could take a quick look, because I know we got a little bit of time. No, don't close all those. That one. Yeah. So this, like Michael said, this was done was it December of 2020?
Well, that was when
the report was done.
Well, that was when it was presented to the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what we put together as part of that master plan. So let's pull back just a little bit. I like to get ahead of myself. Right. 2018, we developed the plan for Apple Valley and Summit View. 2019, we started executing. We were then asked to say, hey, come back and let's develop a long-range plan. Right? What are our needs, and at what intervals a short, medium, and long range plan looks like? So if we went down, let's keep going to section 6. Yep, keep going a little bit, because we're just going to get to 2 more pages down. Let's get into the details. Yeah, let's look at that little pretty picture. So this is a quick summary of what that plan looked like. So like I said, we were looking at short term, in 1 to 3 years, what needed to be done. 3 to 7 years, what needed to be done, and 7 to 12. So look at that short, medium, and long range plan, and understand this is fluid. This is what the committee said at that time. So you saw at that 1 to 3 year time span, we need to do, and there's more details within the report, but a campus refresh of the middle level campus, the innovation school. All right, we got that covered, right? The athletic fields going on now. There was health clinics in some of the elementaries. We wanted to reevaluate some of the elementary capacity, and then take out a bunch of the items that were on the deferred maintenance list. All right, so that's what the committee said. These are what we need to make the priority here in the short term. You've knocked some of that out, right? And then you look at what was in the middle level, which is kind of where we're at now in that 3 to 7. Replace the junior high, and again, create capacity at the elementary level. And then long range, there was needing to buy some land. And they said, that district office probably needs to be replaced in the long term. Not now, but it should be out there on that long range item. It was an item that came up as part of the discussion, but it wasn't on a high priority list by any means. So those got pushed to there. So those are what was looked at during those time. And those were kind of all the various items that were wrestled with within the community. So what we would look to do is bring those up as a data point, right? Here's what you guys looked at. And we want to make sure this facility master plan, this long plan, is valued and is a another point of data and reference, right? We got to get updated. Where are we at, and bring all that refresh to the table and reevaluate, bring all these items back up to the table. Some have crossed off, some may not be an item anymore to consider. Cool. Let's cut them. Let's cross them off the list, but keep the ones that are valid on there. And where do they fit in this timeline? And then, so part of it is building toward a bond potentially in February of 26, but also refreshing the long range plan so you have a roadmap for the next 10 plus years. It's always good to be looking ahead and having that strategic vision of where you want to go, knowing it's all going to change, but at least you have a direction that you're going with and understanding moving forward. Because this sets your path.
Update on the 1 to 3 years, so the 3 to 7 years, the 7 to 12 years.
Yep. Update those, right? Because things have changed. Education's changed. And you may say,
Well, we've done a lot in the 1 to 3 years.
you have, right? And credit to you. You followed the roadmap. Do we think you're ever going to get to everything? Maybe, maybe not. Every district's different. Right? Some hit a couple of the 1 to 3 years, some hit a 7 to 12 year item because of what becomes available. Right? You may have had a great opportunity on a piece of land and you bought it. Cool. But that's what we want to strategically be looking at thinking about. So updating that and also building toward a future bond, that's where we would be looking to get going on. But the study and survey would be our first tackle to get on because we're going to get to summer here pretty quick.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? No? James, you just took the fire hose all at once here.
I had a question when you were talking. I was thinking, as soon as he's done talking, I'm going to ask this question. And it's it had to do with, yes, that's what it was. So this master plan.
Yeah.
Looking at that first timeline that we went through of looking in the future, at what point would we have this master plan ready in that timeline in the future?
Good question. I would like to think back into 25. I think we'd have it, if we were
By the end of 25?
yeah, maybe this time. Yeah. I think we'd be close.
June of 25.
It'd depend on how well the committee gets through the early work.
Because the committee is bringing the input into that
Yeah.
master.
So it might actually be, Peter, more the following fall, right? Because I want to make sure we want to have the first focus is going to be right away, right? This bond, but it's going to have all those components in. So I think as we finalize everything, so I think more the back end of 25, we'd have as we're bringing bond as part of that, it's the all-encompassing plan. I think they go hand in hand. But again, it's a living document, right?
Do you bring in some, I guess, I assume you do, the data from just across the nation? I mean, obviously during COVID, we had a lot more students starting to go to private school, things like that.
We've got all that data too.
We're where we were pre-COVID, but we're not necessarily like climbing.
We've got all that data.
Okay.
And so you can see, through that whole plan, you can see the enrollment charts and where they were at that time, and we'll update those. And OSPI is doing a little bit of their dropping the COVID numbers to help your enrollment numbers look better for unhoused information.
Even at birth rates.
Yeah. Yep.
Birth rates, but I guess I'm thinking more like culture. And so you see that shift towards private school.
Yeah.
Is there part of the culture that you guys are now looking at that, is there a shift towards that
Yeah,
continuing?
we are grasping all that. I'll use one district we're working with right now. We're working with Wenatchee.
Mhm.
Their enrollment is dropping because of charter schools.
Yeah.
And it's clear. And that's part of our path of looking at is understanding where that is and where's Wenatchee Public Schools going with all that playing into account. So yes, that is all part of the projections that we're looking at. Look at a bunch of different mathematical models, and we take into account birth rates and charter schools and look at new developments coming in the area and do some of that research into it to understand what's realistic here. Because we want to, to Phil's credit, he wants to be the best in the business when it comes to the enrollment projections, and he's crushing it right now.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at all those details. That's a great question, because that's all real.
Yeah.
They're for better or worse, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Peter, anything I missed?
No, I just really appreciate the work you've done with us in the past. And I think this is a good, I think we're in the right time and place
Michael, anything I missed from your viewpoint from before that I didn't bring up?
No, not at all. I just feel like, and Mr. Conley's here because he's heard me say a lot, as we were concluding the Apple Valley and Summit View projects, I kept asking Joe, when are we going to get on with this? What's next? And not so much what's next to be in a hurry, but it's May of 2024, and we have a replacement levy in 2026, and as you can see, there's a lot of work and thought that needs to go into this. There are always challenges will always be challenges associated with anytime we're going to go ask the public to come alongside of us to help us address these needs. And so what I think is, again, this is just speaking for me, that the more thoughtful and the more intentional about the process that we utilize to, as David's talking about, I think the better off we'd be and put ourselves in the best possible position to address because these are continuing needs that we are going to have. So that's part of the whole. We need to get on with this because it's not just we're going to wake up one day in the latter part of the year and say, oh, you know what, we need to start doing this. Need to kind of advance the ball in terms of the work that David's talking about. So I'm excited that we're going to continue that process. And as he said, and was drilled into us several years ago, is that the master facilities plan is a plan. It's a living document. It's going to change over time. It's interesting to look at the timetable and what we have done and what we've chosen not to do. But we're doing a lot of the things that have a lot of the groundwork that has been there. So has been taking place. So I'm excited. I guess that's what I would add. What I would add is that I think anytime that we ask the community to assist us in these endeavors, it's got to be a thoughtful process.
And your timing's good, right? And make sure you understand that you don't want to get going too fast. Right, we talked about the momentum piece, right? That's a real thing. And so I think the timing's good. We can go execute the study and survey this summer. That's the first, piece of it all. But I think our timing's good. We've got a runway. We've got the right amount of runway. It's not too short. It's not too long, but it's long enough that we can develop the right plan to get the proper amount of engagement with the community to be successful.
Yeah. And again, this type of thing we bring to a study session. We don't need to take formal action, but it would be good to give the administration some direction that, yes, this looks like a good business, we should move forward. So I'm looking for that feedback from you.
I think,
Go.
I definitely think we need to plan ahead. I'm going back to a couple school board meetings. Even little things like what's the life on the carpet that we're using? What is the estimated? And honestly, I think, and Steve has a lot of experience in this, but having even details in that and thinking through a lot of things. And I do think we have other elementary schools that need attention as well. But I am 100% in support of long range planning. And I do think we need to do that. So,
Yeah.
That's
good. All right. Well, before we adjourn then for the study session, Mark Strong had contacted me that he was hoping to be able to maybe phone in, but he's out of state actually.
Yeah. So we'll take up at the regular meeting to excuse him from
the study session.
From both the study session and the regular. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
okay. So it is 6:49. Thank you to David for being here, and we will adjourn the study session and we'll take up the regular school board meeting at 7 p.m.
I do. Totally. Absolutely.
Do you know maybe some questions for Peter on a community meeting?
Mhm.
Obviously, that's maybe not board.
There's typically, yes, 1 to 2 representatives typically. Yep. Always. Because I'm like, it helps when we get to that recommendation piece. You've been part of it. You can give it back. Right. It's a little bit, yeah, I was there. We had this here. And it's just happening blindly. So, absolutely.
Was that you that sent me that?
Okay, we're ready? All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Valley School District Board of Directors regular school board meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 28th, 7 p.m. And I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we do have one change to the agenda this evening, and that is going to be to add a new item 16, which will be an executive session for the performance of a public employee. And so that will now be item 16, and then we will come out of the executive session taking no action, and then we will adjourn, which is item 17. I'd like to make a motion at this time to excuse Mark Strong, not only from this meeting, but also from the study session. And I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries to excuse Mr. Strong 4-0. Communications, 5A, response to public comments. Dr. Finch.
All right, first we have response to public comment. So at the school board meeting on May 14th, 2024, there were public comments regarding staffing for the high school wrestling team, high school band, and Summit View Elementary. Regarding high school wrestling, high school athletic director Jeff Jameson scheduled a meeting for Tuesday, May 28th to meet with parents and the head coach to discuss the direction of the program. For high school band, high school principal Ben McMurray has included a parent and staff members in the interview committee for the new band director. In regards to Summit View Elementary, for the 24-25 school year at Summit View Elementary, administration has prioritized small class sizes for the use of basic education funds and para-educator support for struggling students for the use of high poverty learning assistant program funds. During the 23-24 school year, one school counselor was funded by basic education funds and one school counselor was funded by federal funds, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds, also known as ESSER funds. The ESSER funds were provided by the federal government to address students' academic, social, and emotional needs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The federal government has eliminated ESSER funds for all school districts across the nation for the 24-25 school year. The difficult realities of these budget situations are being faced by all school districts. While the staffing for the 24-25 school year will be different than the current school year, staff in West Valley will continue to work to provide the best education possible for our students. With the elimination of ESSER funds, there is no funding available for the second counselor position. The district has confidence that a commitment to low class size will provide students with a positive learning environment. In addition, the superintendent has contacted ESD 105 to request that intern candidates be placed in West Valley schools for individuals who need to complete their internship for their master's in social work and for individuals who need to complete their internship for their master's in mental health counseling. These placements can be made with no cost to the school district. That concludes the public comment.
Thanks, Dr. Finch. Item 5B is the high school ASB report.
All right, well, this evening we have double booked our high school senior representative, Magnus Fulton. He's at the Dollars for Scholars event that's happening right now. I think we also have some of our JROTC students I'm going to present here in a second that are needing to be there as well. But we'll have Ava Ferguson, who's our junior representative for juniors for a couple more weeks, and then she'll be our senior representative. We also have Katie Champy will be coming on board next year as the junior representative, but Ava Ferguson's going to give the high school ASB report, and then later in the program, tonight's agenda, we'll have Ava have some interaction with the board about her experience this year and looking forward to next year. But first, we'll have the high school ASB report, Ava Ferguson.
All right, so we just had our senior breakfast for our seniors. The parents hosted that, and tickets for graduation just went on sale. We just finished SBAC testing for our sophomores and juniors and sent some teams off to state for our spring sports. After a hiatus, we had our first Ramapalooza, which is basically just like a big event for students. And basically this one was to celebrate saying goodbye to the track before construction started on that. We celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. ASB did a number of things to celebrate our teachers. And Farm Day happened, which was hosted by FFA. And we had our Cinco de Mayo assembly hosted by the Mecca Club. Graduation is coming up on June 7th at the Sun Dome at 7 p.m. Finals are going to be June 11th and 12th. And some back to school dates are also mentioned at the bottom of the report from ASB. That's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ava. All right, next we'll have the staff retirement recognition. I don't think I see, is Dan Iman, Lisa Olden, or Kathy Peterson? Are they here this evening? Don't think so. All right, so we will have Grant Johnston and Leslie Jones come up for recognition. Father, come here. While they're coming up, I'll share that Dan Iman is retiring with 9 years of service in West Valley. Lisa Olden, our head secretary, Dan Iman, coach and teacher at the high school.
We won't repeat that.
For our high school secretary, Lisa Olden had 14 years of service in West Valley. Appreciate her service. And Kathy Peterson, a paraeducator at the middle school, 25 years of service in West Valley. So for Dan Iman, Lisa Olden, and Kathy Peterson, let's give them the positive karma clap. Right? All right, now we have present here this evening. We have Leslie Jones. Hire date is January 11th of 2000. That's 24 years of service in West Valley. So thank you so much, Leslie. We're going to miss you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your service. Oh. Thank you very much.
All right, and then we have R. Grant Johnston, art teacher at the high school. Hire date was September 9th of 1993. 30 years of service in West Valley. Thank you, Grant, so much for all you've done.
Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations to all of our staff who are retiring, and especially appreciate Grant and Leslie being able to be here this evening. Appreciate all your years of service to West Valley and our students. Thank you.
All right, communications 5D. Dr. Finch, I know you want to make a special recognition now.
Yes, very good. In the board packet, I had the entire information, but basically, I wanted to recognize that Ben McMurray, our high school principal, was awarded the 2024 Excellence in Equity Award. There were only 29 individuals from across the nation who received this recognition. Ben's recognition was for developing such a positive culture at our school here at the high school that teachers come to him and say, I'd like to expand the curriculum. I'd like to offer college in the high school in this content area. We have college in the high school classes, over 40 classes for our students in every content area. We have it in fine arts. We have it in all the world languages. We have it in math, science, English, social studies, just across the board. What that resulted in for the class of 2023 is that 90% of our students who graduated with a high school diploma and a college transcript. We had 90% of our students that had a college transcript with college credits last year at graduation. And so looking forward to the numbers this year, but that's an outstanding number. And of course, if you see the article that we posted on the website, there's extensive research from the U.S. Department of Education that students that get a college transcript started when they're in high school, they're more likely to go to college and they're more likely to graduate from college. So the work that Ben's doing is helping all kids, and I really appreciate that he is recognized with this national recognition. So congratulations, Ben. All right, and now we're ready for school presentation. This is the annual presentation by the high school. Ben McMurray is the high school principal, and he's going to take us through the presentation. Ben, they're all yours.
Thanks for the recognition, Dr. Finch, and thanks for nominating me for that. You know how much I love accolades, and yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out. So,
and I didn't even tell him that I nominated him.
Complete shock. Complete shock. All right, so tonight we wanted to showcase a couple of our programs up here at the high school. One that is just growing and growing and growing. And when you look across the area, we know that East Valley right now is having a hard time holding on to their JROTC program. And we wanted to make sure that we were showcasing that. And we are going to try to move into kind of a co-op with them to see if we can help their students out. So they can either be here part-time or full-time, or even just work with our extracurriculars in the next couple of years. We're excited to grow our program. And to talk about that is Cadet Durrells, who has to get out of here pretty soon because she's going to be in the Dollars for Scholars award ceremony tonight. So come on up, Cadet.
Not very tall. All right. Hi. Good evening. I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Jordan Durrells, and I am the battalion commander of the JRC program here at the school. And this is just kind of like a year brief about what we've been doing this school year. We've done a lot more than what we usually do. This year, we done nationals for the first time since 2012, and it was the first time we actually brought an unarmed duel team. And it was the second time for us to bring an armed duel team. So first, we will talk about JPA. JPA is a JROTC program accreditation that we go through every 3 years, but because of COVID, we have not been through it for the past 6 years. And when Mr. Pratt came in, he told us that our school, our program was named the wild card because we don't focus on everything. We focus on every single thing that we do, unlike all the other schools where they either focus on drill or rifle or any type of other things they do, whether it's Cyber Patriot. And so for us, we were just kind of going on for everything on our slideshow. So our score, there's a little picture. Basically, we passed with a 95.03%, which means that passing with above 95% means we get an HUD. Now, you might be wondering, what is an HUD? An HUD is Honor Unit with Distinction, and that's actually the first time we've had it since 21 years ago in 2003. And we are actually one of 2 schools out of the entire Washington state that even earned this award and honor. Now, the way this affects our program is that we get more publicity with it. We get more people that want to learn about our program. We want more people that want to give us more money and scholarships for it. And for our seniors especially, they get a lot more attention from colleges when they find out that they're from a program that earned the HUD. We also get a lot more attention from the media, as you may not tell when we go on news, and we do a lot of interviews, especially this Thursday when we do Military Signing Day, when a news channel actually wants to come interview us about it. It also helps us at nationals when you look around and there's very few schools in the entire nation that's competing that actually has that gold star above their nameplate. Speaking of nationals, that's my next topic. Nationals. So I put some pictures up here just because we had to wake up super duper early and meet up at the high school, which it's very creepy in the dark. Okay. I think it was like 1 a.m. when we all met up. We were totally exhausted. And that's when we started our 3-hour drive. Yes, I know it's Seattle. It's usually only like 2.5, but Colonel doesn't like to go like faster than 55. So it took 3.5 hours to get there. And then we went on a flight that felt like it was forever. I mean, that flight was hard for me to get through. What we also did is when doing at nationals, as you can tell, those are a couple pictures of when we walked around our hotel and what it was around and just kind of, explored Daytona Beach. And we loved getting pictures of all the NASCAR, cars that were right next to the hotel we were staying at. And then these are 2 pictures of the only ones I do have of me, my partner, Cadet First Lieutenant Camille Dilworth, competing in unarmed duel. And then, of course, you can see Cadet Sergeant Major Braden Idris and Cadet Captain Dylan Quenzer just kind of doing their duel while he's looking up, throwing the rifle up in the air. These are a couple pictures. One is from when they met someone that they apparently watched, and teach them how to do their duels and how they do the flips. They actually met the person that they watched videos of. So that was pretty cool. And then I took a picture of when we were all waiting in the award ceremony because it was taking forever. No, we did not stay the entire time because those things last forever. And when I say it, last year ended at 12 in the morning. It ended at 12:30 in the morning. It was ridiculous. I also made it in the top 5 scholars. So out of the entire nation, when I went there, I not only went there to compete, but I also was recognized and was the only one from a regular high school that made it into the top 5. Everyone else was from some type of academy high school that they attended to. So it really was a true honor that I made it above thousands of people that applied for it. Our official results from nationals is that our dual armed exhibition placed 11th out of 62 duels out of the entire nation, and that was our first time going. And our dual unarmed exhibition duels did 12th out of 42 duels out of the nation. And of course, I told you about how thousands of seniors applied for the scholarship, and I placed top 5. Next up is JCLC. JCLC is where we compete in multiple different divisions and where we kind of compete for this amazing trophy cup. And so we haven't competed for the trophy cup since before COVID. And so this is our first year actually trying to get it. We're separated in 5 companies: Staff, Alpha Company, Bravo Company, Charlie Company, and Delta Company. And West Valley, we only brought 17, but they were all split up into every single company. We had 5 people on staff, and then everyone else was split up into each company. We had done various activities because we did 4 activities every single day. We'd wake up, do morning PT around 5:30, and we wouldn't go to bed till around 11. The first activity, there's physical fitness, land navigation, obstacle course, rappel tower, swim course, medical course, sports, a leadership class, a confidence course, a rope bridge, a summit lesson, and then after that, this is how we did. As you can tell about a couple of these pictures, there's me and my instructors, and then the instructors just holding the trophy cup that we won for the very first time ever. And so that was really amazing for us that we got that honor to earn that cup for the very first time in history. This is our seniors, but we also have a couple of juniors that are going into the military. We actually have over, that's not updated, but for right now, it's $1,257,856, not including $120,000 bonuses for educational benefits for everyone, not only just seniors, but we also have 2 juniors that are actually enlisted and actually 2 more juniors trying to enlist right now. So we're just keep adding and adding to that, educational benefits that we can get from whatever scholarship that they can get or whatever money they get from the current, whatever job they sign up for. And so that's what Military Signing Day is all about. It's kind of just recognizing those students who are enlisting. Any questions?
Well, first of all, congratulations on your placement.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I'm just wondering, out of all the obstacle courses and swimming and all that, so what was the toughest and what was the most fun?
Oh, okay. The toughest was probably the obstacle course. Those things. Okay, when you're a little shorter than most of the guys who are sophomores that are like 6 foot tall, it's very hard to climb over those walls. And the most fun, I think for me, it'd either be the swim course or the rappel tower. The rappel tower is 60 feet high, and you just rappel off it with only safety, of course, but it's really fun. And then the swim course, but that's probably because I've done swim before, and so that was my favorite. But no, I definitely think the most challenging one was the obstacle course for being on the shorter side of my cadets.
Thanks.
What's your next plan? Because I'm assuming you have to do boot camp this summer and
I
then
do.
college, and it looks like Grand Canyon University. You got a scholarship. That's awesome.
Yes.
What's your plans?
So actually, I'm enlisted right now as a 15 Whiskey, which is actually a drone pilot. And so for Grand Canyon University, I got accepted a couple months ago, and that's before I enlisted. And so while I was at JCLC, I wasn't just doing all that, but I also had an interview for the Minterman scholarship. And so hopefully I get the 4-year paid for, because not only do I get the 4 years of tuition paid for, I also get $1,000 in books, $450 of stipend every single month. And then I also get drill pay every weekend. And so hopefully after, basic, and then I go to AIT, where I can actually get, I believe, equivalent to a AA in only 21 weeks. and then I go to college hopefully as a transfer.
Excellent. Well, I know your parents are proud of you and grateful for your scholarships too.
Yes. They said I could only get my dad's truck if I got enough money in scholarships. So, any more questions?
Well, maybe just for the people that were watching on streaming or watching for the recording, it's just really amazing and awesome to think that our students here with JROTC are able to take that and then go across the nation and have opportunities that are all because of the work that they're doing with JROTC. And I really appreciate our teachers that are helping to guide those students. But the information here that Jordan shared with us was students going to the University of Alabama, Jordan going to Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona. We've got Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, University of Idaho, University of Oregon. So it's really taking our students places and providing them a great foundation. So thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that. And congratulations on all the great success that our program had this year.
Thank you.
I don't think anybody quite understands the amount of time that our cadets put into the program. They really are everywhere in the community. There's so many community service hours that they do, and they really represent West Valley amazing. So I just want to make sure that we give a good kudos to the program as well. It's everybody. It's all of us. It's a community. So we are well represented. So thank you so much, cadet. And enjoy Dollars for Scholars. All right, our second program, I would say for about 5 to 10 years, it's been my big focus to try to make sure we have some kind of a, I would say, a school within a school at the high school. So we see a lot of students dropping out. We see a lot of students moving on. We see a lot of students that we don't feel like we're reaching in the traditional environment that we're providing. So we really tried to do the best we can to create a program that would sustain those kids, hold on to them for a longer period of time. And that program has flourished, but also adapted considerably because this was the first time we could actually have the program in the building. So it was kind of one of those, let's fly the plane, or sorry, build the plane while we fly it, right? Like, let's just figure it out on the way, and we will make it better and better. And we will do the best we can to meet every single kid where they're at, whether that's a GED, whether that's a diploma, whether that's just having a safe space in the building. It's very flexible as far as their school day goes, and I'm sure Mrs. Veselka will tell you that. But we did get the perfect person to run this program. I'm very excited to have her back to the high school because she did leave for a small exodus, and then she realized that we were way better than everybody else. So I was able to talk her back into it, and her relationships with kids is really why she is so amazing. So please welcome Mrs. Veselka up.
Yay.
Just a little bit to live up to there. Yeah, no pressure. So my name is, yep, that's it. That's me. My name is Ruth Veselka, and I guess piloted the RAM Flex program this year, and I'm excited to continue it on. This is a program that is about meeting kids where they are, finding out what they need, and then helping them to move forward from that. This does not fix children. This is not some sort of magic pill. There's nothing overtly special about what this is. The kids are what's special, and that's what makes the program go. This is a lot of words about me. So for those of you that don't know me, enjoy that. You might know Maslow's pyramid of needs. And I start here only because as teachers 21 years ago, it's longer than that, it's about 24 years ago now, we were trained, and I was trained, to meet them at the top of that pyramid, the self-actualization piece. It was my job to meet kids there and to help them see beyond high school, to see into adulthood. That's not the case anymore. These kids are dealing with not just self-esteem needs or love and belonging needs, but really safety and physiological needs. Some of the kids that come to my class struggle with having food issues, struggle with having a safe place to stay. These are students that need this to be their safe place. This is an alternative program. And actually, I'm going to say that again because I'm going to say it really proudly. This is an alternative program. I realize the connotation of alternative ed programs is negative, that it becomes a dumping ground for students, that it becomes a place for the bad kids to go. That's not what this is. These aren't bad kids. These are kids that struggle. These are kids that need just something a little different. And that's all it is. It's an alternative. It is not a quick process. We did not start really looking at diplomas or GEDs or the end game until March of this year. And so as I had these kids in September, all we were working on then was, can you get here? Are you eating? Are you sleeping? How are you doing? And some of those conversations had to be woven in through other things. But it's a slow process. In some instances, we are undoing a lot of hurt and trauma, whether it be at home or at school. And so as we do this, I am not creating a better student, I'm creating a better human being, a better citizen, someone that can go out into the world and be better than me, that can go out and help people better than I can. That's my goal. If you know me at all, you'll know that I say this many, many times, is that I don't teach kids so that they will be like me. I teach them so that they will be better than me. So again, this program is not to put these kids back into the mold of a high school graduate, but to offer them opportunities of what else is out there. This is a crazy time. If you've even looked at how AI is just growing by leaps and bounds, you will know that we are teaching kids for jobs that we have no idea what they look like. And so to do that, we really have to look beyond just a Washington State diploma. We look at the GED, which is a general equivalency diploma. It is a series of 4 tests that these kids take. And right now I have 6 on the path to a GED. One student is 1 test away. And as I was talking to Stacy Drake, I totally interrupted what seemed like a very important meeting between her and my principal to excitedly tell them that one of my students passed his 3rd test. And I was so excited because he was so scared. But even in that fear, like there was something beyond that that knew that he could do that. And that comes from just telling him time and time again that he can do this, that he is worth it, and that what he does and what he chooses to do is important. Beyond that, it's apprenticeship. So the GED tests, they take at Perry Tech, which is probably the greatest thing that could ever happen. So they go in and they see kids like them, kids that are working on different programs, learning different things. I'm fortunate enough, and he's not listening, so I can say this. I have a really amazing cousin that works at Perry Tech. And I've been fortunate enough to take some of those kids after their tests in to see him and to talk about what they're doing there and what that looks like. There's so many other programs in our state. There's youth apprenticeships, there's Job Corps, there is the military, of course, as you've seen. There's YV Tech, and then just some amazing jobs. We really have just a community that offers a lot for these students. They just don't know it yet. As you look at these pictures, this is who we are. I thought about putting in different pictures for different things, but this is a place. It's just a place where students are seen, heard, and where they matter. It's a place for them to, yes, gain that academic knowledge, that math and science that follows them everywhere, but also those technical competencies, professional and life skills. I had the absolute joy of taking 2 days before Thanksgiving break and talking through Thanksgiving dinner, what that looks like, how we cook a turkey. My mother was very proud of me because I actually don't like to cook. So I learned a lot from them as well. They brought in their own family recipes or things that maybe a grandparent or someone that had passed before would make for them, things that they loved. And then we were able to share it with our administration and some favorite adults in the building. At Christmas time, I found out that a few of my kids had never made gingerbread houses. And since that's a staple in my home, I made them make gingerbread houses. We do puzzles. We try and make sure that not only we're working on GED competencies or skills in classes, but also hands-on things. So building Mr. Masek, who is a teacher in the building, and I work with a few of our students on welding and construction and those types of projects as well. So the biggest difference is we don't do Wednesday late starts, which the kids kind of groan about, but our classes are Monday through Thursday. We meet in 2 sessions from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it was supposed to be from 11:30 to 2:20, but it really became 11:10 to 2:10. And really that time frame was because it's safer for them. They feel safer when they leave before everyone else leaves. They feel safer when they come in before everyone else comes in, or before everyone else goes to lunch. There are 4 student-led conferences during the year. I worked hard to try to get parents and respected adults to come in for each of the kids. And a lot of times what would happen is we'd go to teachers in the building and have them come and sit in with the kids so that we could brag on them and they could brag on themselves. Our September focus really is goal setting and intrapersonal skills, digital and media literacy, and of course, citizenship within our classroom and within our school and within our community. Our June focus is our life skills. And man, we're hitting those hard right now. Summer goal setting, which has been hard for them. There has been a lot of fear and behaviors from that fear of having to leave this program for the summer. Job skills, I'm writing a lot of recommendations, and interpersonal skills. And one of the examples is that I have a student who is about ready to take his 3rd test. He did very well, scored very well on his practice exam, and really is ready to take it, but he is afraid. And so as I was trying to get to the core of what his fear was, another student popped in, sat down and looked at him and said, "When do you feel the most afraid? Before the test, during the test, or after the test?" And at that moment, I realized I'm superfluous in this conversation. And I bowed out. And that is exactly what I'm trying to build. I do have some student voice here, and I would love for you to have an opportunity to read through some of these. There are a couple that I would like to read for you that I think are really important that you hear. One is from Gavin Govea. These students, they did not want to come and speak. But what they did want to do is they gave me permission to speak using their voice. So Gavin, who is a senior and finished 2 tests, said this: "I felt that this program was very efficient for me this year and helped me not feel so overwhelmed by a large class load. I took on 1 class at a time and was able to focus, learn in smaller groups, and not let my anxiety overtake my day. No way would I have graduated or started the GED this quickly on my own. But in this program, I saw what I could accomplish and now have a goal to complete the GED and move forward." This is a student too who has given me permission to add this piece to it. His freshman year, he stood in front of the school and explained that he would wait there for a police officer to come and use a gun on him because he didn't want to go in. These are children that need something different. And they are absolutely amazing human beings. This program has been very beneficial to my education, and I like everything about it. It doesn't feel like a classroom, but at the same time it is, but in the best way. Sitting in the same room, in the same chair, focusing for 2 to 3 hours might be dreadful from the outside perspective, but I get to take walks or make food, so it isn't bad at all. It helps me feel in control. This is the best I've done in school in years, thanks to Mrs. Veselka and this awesome program. That's not me. I know he says it's me. It's not me. It's his choices that he's beginning to make, to see beyond himself and to see what can happen when he makes those choices that help him. The last one is from Elise Donaldson. I've known Elise for 3 years now. I think it's important to have this class because it could help so many other kids that are struggling in school in ways that other programs can't. This class helps me because it keeps me focused with no distractions around me and helps me stay away from getting into drama that leads to poor choices and to not skip class. It has helped me find goals and find a way to make them real. Next year, I plan to work towards completing my GED and my EMT certification through YV Tech. I wish these children could be here in front of you. I wish you could see their faces. But more than that, I wish you could have seen them 3 years ago and the difference in who they are from then to today. COVID doesn't end as easily as just saying it's over. And we have to make sure that we walk every child through this. Finally, my job doesn't end in June. So I'm moving classrooms, and I'm also moving LMS configurations. What that means is that Google Classroom for me and for my class doesn't work. I need something that's more individualized, where I can pull from different pieces and put them together. It will help me collect better data, and it will also help the students see where they're going better. It gives them a better overall picture of how close or how far away they are from completion. Organization, continuing to work on the moving pieces and how to make sure I get the information in the hands of the right people to best help students. Those students that are McKinney-Vetoed, those students that need that extra help, those students that need my extra focus. And then again, just continuing to explore options outside of this building. Any questions?
Thank you so much for your passion and enthusiasm. It's obviously contagious. I totally understand what you're saying about alternative and the students. My wife taught at Stanton Academy in Yakima School District for like 20 years. And so I learned a lot with her teaching there and what you're saying. I really understand and I just appreciate so much what you're doing.
Thank you.
How long have you been doing this, Ms. Fee? Is it because did you do this program like 20 years ago?
I did. So I started back in 2001 with the night school and did that for 3 years. And then, of course, I left it in the very capable hands of Mrs. Johnson, and it won the Golden Apple Award. And then moved to, I worked at a group home for troubled teens. I did that. And then my husband went into the military. And so I traveled around with him working in different schools, on reservations, on bases, and in communities around where we lived. And then came back to West Valley and was a high school English teacher up here. And then went down and taught middle school drama, because that's always necessary. And then while I was down there after COVID, did a semester with a lot of these kids, actually, where it was just a class where I pulled them out of class and they came and sat with me and we talked about perseverance and grit and did a lot of puzzles and just chatted, just talked. And from there really began the building of the relationships that I have with them today. So.
Well, thank you. I was actually in your 2001 night school. So.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
You have the same passion now that you did then, and so I just appreciate you.
Okay. I'm so glad to see you're doing well. You see, you were better than me, and that's what you're supposed to be. Oh. Okay, is that it? Can I go?
Well, I don't know how we can top that. I have two things. First of all, I can't think of anybody more suited or called to do this job. And I shouldn't even, I mean, I don't even mean to cheapen it by the word job, because I can hear it's your passion. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, if your students ever have the gumption or the courage to invite somebody outside of the four walls of West Valley High School to do one of their student-led conferences, I would love to come.
We'd be honored.
So only if they want to do it. If that wouldn't terrify them too much, I wouldn't be. I promise I'd be on my best behavior.
All right. I know your best behavior, and it's pretty good. So thank you.
And Ruth, please share with the students that even though they didn't come and present, their student voice was very powerful,
Mhm.
and that it was shared with the board, and we really appreciate the student voice. So thank you for that.
Thank you. They wanted to make sure that you knew that this needs to stay. So
All
thank
right,
you
well,
very
thank you.
much.
Just in closing, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that that's only 2 programs at the high school. We have many others, and I always, every single time we do a presentation, I always want to invite you guys into the building anytime you want. So we have a lot of fun things to look at, a lot of passionate people, maybe not as passionate as Ms. Veselka, but almost as passionate as Ms. Veselka. So anytime you guys want to come up, that's fantastic to see you. So thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
John.
Thanks.
On to item 7, public comment on non-discussion agenda items this evening. This is a time that we have during every school board meeting where members of the public that would like to address the school board are welcome to do so at this time. There was a sign-in sheet which several of you took advantage of. I will call the speakers in the order in which they've signed in. And they will be, and the speakers will be given approximately 3 minutes. I don't have a timer. I'm not going to stop you unless you carry on too long. But please be respectful of everybody's time. We want to get in all the public comments that we can. And just as a reminder, 2 things. Number 1, it is a public comment period. The board will not have a dialogue back and forth with you during this time. But if you have questions of the school board, we'll all be taking copious notes, and Dr. Finch at the next meeting will be providing a comment on behalf of the school district. And then secondly, public comment is not the proper forum to address concerns about a specific staff member. If you have concerns about a specific staff member, you are encouraged to make an appointment to see Dr. Finch personally, and he will be happy to meet with you. So with that, I'll go ahead and open the public comment period. And first person on the list is Mike Preacher. So he'll come up to the microphone to stage to your right, our left. That'd be great.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by thanking you all for your service to our school district. I know it entails a lot of work and hours, so thank you very much for that. My name is Mike Preacher. I reside in the 2nd district. I'm the parent of a high school senior. I have another who's a sophomore in college who came up through the wonderful West Valley school system. I'm a former member of the Instructional Materials Review Committee. I think I served on that thing. It must have been 8 years, maybe 10. But I've always loved the school district and the work that we do here, so thank you for all that. I've also loved hearing all the stories before, so Ruth, the work that you've done and everybody else to hear the ROTC kids, that's awesome. So I'm not trying to bring all that down with my comments here. So I'm an enthusiastic guy. But I will tell you that watching the last school board meeting, I was a little bit alarmed by what I saw as a breakdown in the instructional materials review process. The board rejected the instructional material committee's recommendation to approve an award-winning novel called The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise, essentially banning it for use in the classroom, I believe, for 8th grade language. In the same meeting, 2 other works of fiction, including Walt Whitman's American masterpiece, Leaves of Grass, squeaked by narrowly with a 3-2 vote. It's my opinion that when we overrule the committee's recommendations, it undermines the trust of the staff and the community in leadership. And importantly, I think it stifles the creativity and the innovation that our students need to compete eventually on a broader stage. Perhaps most importantly, in my opinion, it renders impotent the entire IMC process. We're entrusting our community, our teachers, and staff to weigh in on what they think is appropriate to be in the classroom. The students are all familiar with what we, regard as objectionable subjects. The dissenting directors mentioned some of these when rejecting Coyote Sunrise. I would say that West Valley's classrooms are the appropriate place to discuss these sensitive topics between, our highly skilled teachers and the students. So what I'm asking, I would love it if the board could reconsider that decision on specifically the Coyote Sunrise book. And if that's not possible, I would really invite you to, at least in the future, trust in the process of our appointed instructional material review committee. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about this, and I do wish you all a great summer.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Next up is Jordan. Is it Durrells? Did I get that right?
I believe she signed in because she was speaking for the JROTC.
Oh,
as
got
part of
it.
the
She already
program.
spoke. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. And then Colonel James, I think also departed as well. And then finally, Mr. McMurray would like to. That's also. Oh, that was just. You've already done your thing. Okay. Well, I thought maybe you had something else. All right. So we have a bunch of overachievers this evening. So since that makes its way through the sign-in sheet, I'd offer anybody else the opportunity to speak to the board or offer public comment at this time. I'll go ahead and close the public comment period. Thank you to everybody that signed in. Next up is approval of consent agenda. This is the business meeting where we have approval of minutes, approval of vouchers and payrolls, financial reports, approval of employment contracts, approval of resignations, retirements, and separations, approval of leave requests. Any questions on the consent agenda? We can entertain a motion to approve the consent
Make a
agenda.
motion to approve the consent agenda in full.
We have a motion to approve.
No. I was just Ava, you can make your way to the mic actually while we're doing this.
Oh, okay. I thought I was messing up
No,
again.
you're very good.
Last time when you weren't here, I completely skipped over the staff recognition. So it's entirely possible that I would make a mistake. So anyway, Mr. Walcott has made a motion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item 9, discussion items. We have policy 1250, students on governing boards, opportunity to evaluate experiences. And Dr. Finch, take it away.
Very good. So part of our procedure for policy 1250 is to take some time here at the end of the school year and hear from our student representatives. So Ava does have a message. It was included in your board packet, but she's going to go ahead and read that. The message from Magnus Fulton, who is our senior representative, and then Ava's here in person, and just have a short discussion, but it is a discussion item and certainly appropriate. So a short discussion with the board about your experience this year and suggestions as we look forward to next school year. Okay. So go ahead and you can read Magnus's statement first.
Okay, perfect. So this is Magnus's statement. He says, "Hello. It has been a pleasure working with you and the school board this year. I've learned a lot about how meetings run and government functions. I enjoyed watching how a group of diverse opinions can come together for a common purpose and how those opinions are always treated with respect and care. I found that the monthly cadence for submitting board reports worked well for sharing news from the high school. Other times, presentations to the board were valuable to share with students, like Mr. Waters' presentation on FAFSA information. Thank you for this valuable experience, and thank you for your work making West Valley so special. I wish the board, our new senior student representative, Ava Ferguson, and our junior student representative, Katie Champy, and all of our staff here at West Valley the best. Magnus."
Very good. All right. And then maybe your own remarks.
Okay, perfect. This is from me.
Excellent.
Okay. Serving as the school board representative in West Valley has been a valuable experience that has offered me a unique perspective on the educational system and its governance. This role has enabled me to understand the intricacies of policy making, the challenges faced by educators, and the diverse needs of students. It has also helped me to improve my public speaking skills and advocate for the students in the high school. Looking ahead for next year, this position can be used to greater student engagement and advocacy. By collaborating with other student representatives and school officials, we can develop initiatives that address critical issues in the high school environment. Furthermore, this experience has equipped me with leadership skills and a deeper commitment to being involved in my community, which will be beneficial in any future endeavors that work on improving educational outcomes and fostering a supportive learning environment for all students. In conclusion, I would like to thank Magnus for everything he has done this year as our senior school board representative, and welcome our newly elected junior school board representative for next year, Katie Champy. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Any questions from the school board members? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Ava. And I also appreciate, Ava, your participation. We have focus groups at the high school of a diverse student body. We meet periodically with Ben McMurray, our principal, and Lorenzo Juarez, our graduation success specialist, and Mark Strong, school board member, was able to attend a few of those. And so I thought that was really great to have that dialogue. And just like you're saying, identify things that we need to work on as a school district, and specifically at the high school, and then giving us feedback as administrators to make a difference. So I appreciate your participation in that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Item 9B is the West Valley School District strategic plan discussion item.
All right, well, we do have an action item for the strategic plan to be adopted by the school board this evening. I have a hard copy here for the audience and hard copy for the board. I'll just take us quickly through this. It was part of the board packet, but this is all information that you've seen in the past. The promise statement we have at the front page: ready to learn, ready to grow, ready to rise together. That actually came through the work of the students at the high school and giving feedback on, and that was one of the selections that our community voted on, and that was the one that had the most votes. Next page is the mission statement, and again, the school board of directors helped to craft this, and we changed the wording a little bit so that every student is valued. So the mission statement is: the West Valley School District creates a space where every student is valued, safe, and empowered to achieve academic excellence in an innovative culture of learning. Next page, we have our district message, and shows that we had over 2,400 participants through surveys, through the various planning teams that we had. And we did this more than just on a weekend. We did really the whole school year, pulling the different teams together and looking through and analyzing the results of the surveys. So there was a strong process that we followed. Next page is the vision of the student experience. And these are items that we want to, we're working with the field group to, how can we put this information on a poster so that it's in every classroom? Because we really want this vision of the student experience in every classroom, that we belong, we are supported, we are learners. And then the core values are really the foundation of high expectations, inclusivity and belonging, student-centered, future-focused, and community. We believe in the power of working together. We foster a culture of safety and trust where relationships are built upon compassion, integrity, and empathy. And then the goals, performance, and outcomes and performance targets. The goals, the number one goal, culture of safety and belonging. That's for every classroom, every school. Number two, strong foundations, the early years. That's for our partnerships for early learning and our elementary schools. Number three, mastery of standards. That's our focus at the mid-level. And then number four, career pathways. That's for our secondary schools. And so these are really our goals as we work forward, not just for the next year, but for the years to follow. Next page are the district foundations. So systems to ensure high quality student learning, authentic engagement and partnerships with students, families, and community, facilities and operations to support an outstanding student experience, and a culture of excellence, accountability, and continuous improvement. We have the portrait of a graduate, which is actually work that we had engaged with last year. We held off on publicizing the portrait of graduate because we want to make sure that it was congruent with the strategic plan. So we actually did make just some small tweaks to this, and it actually worked out really nicely where there's 3 bullets for each of the areas. But the areas for the portrait of a graduate are integrity and empathy, adaptability and innovation, creative problem solving, and effective communication. And that's what we want to see throughout a student's experience, and then as they graduate and move into post-secondary experiences. And then finally, we have just all West Valley photos throughout. We made sure that it represents West Valley and ready to learn, ready to grow, ready to rise together. I really appreciate the work that Dr. Tammy Campbell and her team did. That's their organization is called the Scholars First. And just really appreciate their assistance and just wanted to share that with the board. Of course, if you have any questions, now it's time to discuss that, but we do have this on the board agenda for adoption. All right,
Okay.
very good.
Anything from the board before I move this on? Okay, so item 10 is now the second public comment period, and this is on the discussion items that we just had. One being on the policy 1250. We're not taking any action on that, but the second is the strategic plan, which we will have some first readings on of some policies that incorporate the presentation that was just made and that has been ongoing. So I'll open it up to the public comment for public comment on discussion items now. Mr. Marinacci.
Good evening. Thanks for this little booklet on the strategic plan and having it posted on the agenda. My suggestion, and it could be captured somewhere else, Dr. Finch, my suggestion, when you look at the action items, and it talks about the strategic planning and the mission statement as being the two documents being reviewed, I didn't see anywhere in either of what's been outlined that talks about community or parents. So I wonder if it'd be considered, since I think previously we talked about that parents have the primary responsibility. Students, I think if we're doing a strategic plan, we would capture that a little bit better if that's possible. And again, I wasn't involved in all the meetings and what have you. It could be a good reason why you didn't. So I'm open to that. We could talk about it, offline. Page 5 of the booklet, I love how it has performance targets by 2030. However, some of the items that show outcomes do not have a measurable performance target listed. So an example would be on the first one, it says increase the percentage of students feeling a sense of safety and belonging. What's the measurement? And then if you go down the list on number 2, it talks about increase the percentage of students have acquired the grade level mathematical skills and concept. And above it, it says increase the percentage of students reading. It's nice. It talks about 9 to 10 students reading at grade level, but it doesn't say in terms of percentage going from what to what. Again, it might be captured elsewhere, but just a thought, as long as we're going to put on a booklet what the targets are, we should talk about those specific measurable items. So that's what I got. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
Other public comments? I'll close the public comment period on discussion items. Item 11 is approval of policy additions and revisions first reading. The revisions to 6 policies relative to the strategic plan are in the board packet in red line format so that you can see the additions and subtractions. If there are no questions, we can take these all as these policy readings as a group, as a motion to approve first reading.
I approve the motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll call for a vote on the 6 policy revisions and additions first reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries 4-0 on policies 500, 520, 530, 540, 550, and 560, 4-0. Do we need to take, so this is the Dr. Finch, that was the first reading. Do we need to then approve separately the strategic plan
Correct.
itself?
Yep.
Okay.
Approval of the strategic plan, and that's not a first or second reading. That's just
Okay.
approval of the plan.
As outlined as outlined here in the booklet.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the West Valley School District strategic plan as presented.
If I may, I could clarify some information here on, as we have
Sure.
time for discussion here. Just to clarify, first draft of the goals, outcomes, and performance targets did actually have the measurements that we would use. However, we realized that over time, we want this hard copy document to be, in some ways, kind of a more timeless document and not have to be updated every year. The information such as the high school and beyond plan, we currently use Zello for that. The state is moving towards a platform that's going to be used across the whole state. And they actually have come out with the name of that, and it's not Zello, as it turns out. So we didn't want to put in the measurements here. We are going to have a website that will show ongoing data dashboard for the strategic plan, and we'll have periodic check-in on the data site, the data that we'll be collecting. And so we definitely will share what the measurables are for each of these outcomes, and we'll share what the actual data is, and we'll have that real easy to find on the website as part of a data dashboard. And then secondly, just wanted to highlight that on page 6 is the district foundations, and we do have authentic engagement and partnership with students, families, and community. And so we'll be continuing our family engagement efforts in the district, and we'll continue to have reports to the school board like we have in the past. We know family engagement and parents as the most important first teacher for every child, that is a value of our district. So we feel like we captured that there in page 6 as part of the district foundations, and we will continue to have updates to the board on an annual basis of our family engagement department. We know that that's a strong, just a strong focus in West Valley, and we'll continue that. So just wanted to address those 2 items.
Thank you, Dr. Finch.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion before we call for a vote on the motion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next up, 11C is approval of the West Valley Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement 2024 through 2027. In the board packet is the collective bargaining agreement, which has been ratified by the West Valley Education Association. And unless there's any other questions, now requires our approval to ratify the contract for the district. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement for the Teachers Association 2024 through 2027. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0 on the collective bargaining agreement with the West Valley Education Association, 4-0. Items arising.
We do have graduation tickets. If you have someone from your family that you would like to have attend, you can actually get into the Sundome with your ID, so you don't necessarily need a ticket, but we have those at the district office, so you can stop by anytime and pick up any tickets that you would like for family members.
Additionally, for the school board members that have not participated in graduation from the front of the Sundome before, I think Mr. Wolcott can attest, leave your house way earlier than you think you ought to in order to make 7 o'clock because the traffic in particular to the Sundome is pretty challenging. So I would, and my recommendation is plan to be there by 6:30. And even then, the earlier, the better, unfortunately. It does get pretty warm. They have bottles of water for us, which is nice. But most importantly, in terms of the presentation of the diplomas, a few days before the graduation ceremony, the high school through Ms. Smith will to Ms. Smith and then to us board members will send out a list of the order of how the graduates will come through to receive their diplomas. And if you wish to present the diploma yourself to a particular graduate, you basically push me out of the way and say, and grab no, not really, but you'll make your way up and you'll be able to see when you'll be able to mark it up and then make your way in, and then I'll step aside and you'll get to present the diploma to anybody that you want. So, or anybody that you know. So that's a really special thing for, as I've done with my daughter's, with my daughter and my daughter's friends. And this year I'm going to have the opportunity to present my son with his certificate. And so it's a really neat thing and kind of one of the cool things about being a board member. So that's coming up. So, and if you need any tickets, as Dr. Finch said, just go ahead and let him know. Anything else on items arising? Item 13, reports.
Reports were included in the board packet.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report included report to the board regarding policy 5525. So that is an annual report, and that was included in the packet.
Okay. Board reports, board development. I just have just one item. Actually, it's kind of a combined item. I probably could have said this during the reports. I, again, really appreciate the work of all of our buildings to submit wonderful reports. I particularly enjoyed reading about the school improvement plans and the progress that has been made on those plans. I'm really especially grateful that Mr. McMurray stuck around to the end tonight, because tonight's presentation goes right along with the report that Ms. Veselka and the JROTC, and then in his report. A couple of things strike me. Number one, the presentations tonight from Jordan and then from Ruth were inspiring, and were you can't just fake that level of enthusiasm that they have for their for what they do. On the student side of things, you can tell that ROTC, for those students, it emanates that they have that sense of belonging to be at school, and that's the thing that they're really excited about. You could tell in her delivery that was so meaningful to her. And I'm very happy to hear tonight, for the very first time, that we're thinking about co-opting with the East Valley School District, as they might be losing their program. And I think that's fabulous. And I really hope that does come to fruition. But then in the report, Mr. McMurray, you highlighted our spring athletics program, our spring athletics programs, and not just their accomplishment on the field or on the court or on the course, but even more importantly, from my seat as a school board member, the achievement in the classroom that nearly every one of our spring sports programs enjoyed at the state level, placing at the highest levels of academic achievement. So we've all been through a number of these school presentations, and they're all great. And just again, not to be outdone by anybody, the high school's presentation, and not to go on, just is what's right about the West Valley School District. There can be no controversy about anything that we heard tonight or anything that we read in these reports about what advances the ball for students and makes them successful. So thank you very much. And I apologize to the board members for carrying on, but feel real strongly about this. Thank you. And with that, we move on to item 16, which is an executive session on the performance of a public employee. It is 8:09 now. We will go into executive session for approximately 30 minutes, at which time we will adjourn from executive session, or we will come out of executive session adjourning, taking no action. We are going to extend the executive session to 8:55. It's 8:57 and we adjourn the meeting. Thank you.